Is Singapore a reality or is it a diversion?
According to Ndidi, Nyoro and Babu Owino, the Singapore dream will remain just that, a dream. It will never amount to anything. Not because they are pessimistic, but because they are realistic.
Every time you want to champion a cause like any other country economically, there are things that you look for. And that's why I believe the whole thing is like the one we sold about this versus the other. And because the time is nearing, creativity now have to jump in with another.
The two guys met on JKL. And something about these guys, I think these guys have the brains we need to take this country forward. I had talked about Sifuna earlier, and now there are three, according to me. There is Sifuna, there is Ndidi, Nyoro, there is Babu Owino. There may be more. I will go learning more and I will add more to this list. Probably there are more, you can add them in the comment section. But these are the kind of guys we need to be thinking about if you're looking to achieve anything as a country, if you're looking to go anywhere as a country. I know we have had people like this and then they have disappointed us, but we will not give up believing in people who seem like they know what they are talking about. These guys have one thing in common. They have both been rejected by their parties.
It was not so long ago. You were the blue-eyed boy of UDA. Kwani kuliendaje?
Jeff, I think you should ask the party that because I think it's the party that deviated.
Ndidi Nyoro has been thrown out of UDA. He used to be the favorite of Kasongo. Now he is an enemy. We're not very sure about that, but it is what it seems. Babu Owino, on the other hand, used to be Baba Damu.
You seem to be very close to... You're Baba's boy. Baba, there's never an occasion where you got up and didn't praise Baba to no end. And yet, you're still outside the tent, man. What's up?
Jeff, I must tell you that deep down my heart, I loved Baba and I still love Baba. Actually, Baba, there's no any other leader in this country that I will love the way I loved Baba.
Okay.
And Jeff,
Go on.
current ODM that we have
does not talk about what Baba stood for. Baba never went to look for coalitions. Baba never went to look for other parties. Other parties came to look for Baba. This that we are going to look for is a different ODM. That leadership, they don't like the young people.
Ndidi, the party deviated from what it believed in. And he believed in UDA because of what it stood for. But I highly doubt that as a person. And I'm wondering, did Ndidi Nyoro really think that Ruto would deliver on the promises he made? Because personally, I didn't. What about ODM? The straw that broke the back of ODM was the death of Baba. It was bound to happen. There is nothing we can do about it. And ODM is bound to break up, whether we want to admit it or not. Now, back to the main topic of the Singapore dream. Why is the Singapore dream unrealistic? Well, according to both of these guys, the maths is not mathing. First of all, the sheer size of Singapore in comparison to Kenya makes comparing the two a case of bananas and oranges.
First of all, if I just talk at face value and compare Singapore and Kenya, Jeff, the size of Singapore is 736 square kilometer.
Is that Central Province? Is that smaller than...
The size of Nairobi is 696 square kilometers.
Wow.
Therefore, Singapore and Nairobi are almost congruent in size. The size of Kenya is 580,000 square kilometers. It means that Kenya is 800 times bigger than Singapore.
Then there is also the issue of GDP. These countries are worlds apart.
The GDP per capita of that country is around, and I don't want to even get into that political sloganeering, so you allow me to use that reference. It's around 90,000 US dollars.
GDP?
No, GDP per capita, per person.
According to Ndidi, if you want to get a country, you can compare yourself with, at least go for a country that somewhat is closer to you or somewhat follows the same kind of structure like yours. Apparently, we don't follow the same structure with Singapore.
In economics, just to bring it in terms of real life, if, for example, you are a banana farmer, you compare how well you want to do banana farming with another banana farmer. You can't compare your yield using, let's say, oranges or pears. What am I trying to say? Every time you want to champion a cause like any other country economically, there are things that you look for. And that's why I believe the whole thing is like the one we sold about this versus the other. I gave the example of bananas and the rest. Economically speaking, when you want to compare an economy and you want to do like that economy, you look at the homogeneity of those economies. You look at, are these things even the same in many dynamics? The GDP per capita of that country is around, it's around 90,000 US dollars.
GDP?
No, GDP per capita, per person. Ours is around 3,000, but that's not even the point. The point is that how the economies are fashioned. The economy of Singapore is fashioned very differently from how the economy of Kenya is fashioned. Number one, in terms of the involvement of the state in terms of the economy. If, for example, you check at SGX, the Singaporean stock market, you take the top 10 companies, you realize that Temasek, one of the entity of government that owns stakes in other companies, they are very dominant in terms of ownership. Because Singapore, in its start, as much as it was promoting private side of the economy, the government was also very heavy in terms of state capitalism.
Another surprising thing that came out of this interview is that we are the slowest growing economy in East Africa. Just think about that. Even Museveni's Uganda is doing better than we are doing. And if you listen to our president speak, you would think that Kenya is the fastest growing country in the world. That we are headed for Singapore, full speed. Rwanda looks like it is headed there somewhat. But Kenya, no.
But if you judge Kenya based on the region, Uganda is growing faster than us. It will grow between 6 and 6.5% in the year 2025. Tanzania is growing faster than us. Rwanda, can you believe this, Jeff?
Go on.
Rwanda in the year 2025 Q3, quarter 3, they grew by double digit, over 10%.
What?
And the overall growth of Rwanda will be 7 to probably 9%, as the figures are being corroborated by the various agencies.
And that's not all. This government is the worst performing government since Moi's era. The only person this government can compete with is Moi. And by the look of things, if things go the way they are going, Moi will beat them at their job. And if Moi can beat you at your job, I don't think you're doing any job at all.
And let me compare the three regimes that has been there. When President Mwai Kibaki took over in 2003, our GDP in dollar terms was around 19 billion US dollars. But in his first 3 years, let me compare 3 years because we are in our third year, it is now in the third year. The economy went up to 26 billion US dollars, which was a 36% increment in 3 years. When President Uhuru took over in the year 2013, the economy grew from 61 billion US dollars to around 64. That was around 21% growth in 3 years. When we took over, the GDP of Kenya was around 114 billion US dollars. The projection up to end of 2025, it will be 131 billion US dollars. That is 14.9%.
Babu Owino points out something very interesting. We had a blueprint. We already knew where we were headed to in 2030. But then these guys come and tell us, now forget about that. Now, It is bottom up.
Then, in 2008, Kibaki came up with a blueprint and called it the Vision 2030. We don't need to go to Singapore. I want us to focus here. The Vision 2030, having come up, the projection was that by the year 2013, it ought to have had a two-digit number, which was approximately 10%. And by the year 2030, it ought to have maintained that 10% and even more.
But why do we have to forget about everything else we had, or every blueprint we had before a president as soon as another one comes? This we will never get anywhere. What happened to Vision 2030? Now all of a sudden, again, it is not bottom up. It is Singapore. Where does this guy get these ideas? Does he just wake up in the morning and say something, or he has a dream and he says something? And I don't think this one will sell this time around. And if it will, and whoever is buying it, because there are some people that are buying the idea, those are very stupid people. This guy keeps saying that Kenya has a shortage of fools, but the truth is, Kenya doesn't have a shortage of fools. Kenya has so many fools. You know what I'm talking about? 2-term. I read doubt and I read question their intelligence. Because what do you expect this guy will do that he had never done all those years? Tell me one ministry he was given and it performed. Show me one thing he did well. How will we go to Singapore if we cannot feed our people? If we cannot educate our people? If we cannot give an assurance of the health of our people? The other day, our president said that they are not able to fund the education. If we cannot do the basic things, then why are we talking about Singapore? We cannot go to Singapore in empty stomachs. Another thing I love about these guys is that they just know their numbers. You know, kuna wale watu wataongea kitu, unaielewa design hauko umeielewa hapo mbele. Yani anakuelezea kitu, unaelewa vile hiyo kitu inafanya, even if you're not an economist. And that is authority. That shows authority. That shows an understanding of the things they're not talking about. Si kusema tu vitu hapa kule. These guys know what they're talking about. And if we are serious as a people, these are the people we should be considering for serious elective positions like the president, the vice president, speaker, things like that. Si akina Kalonzo, hawa watu wamekuwa for all those years, what have they done? Si akina Rigathi, hawa watu wamekuwa hiyo miaka yote, what have they done? Si akina, who else? Akina Ruto, akina Oburu Odinga. Those guys will not, there's nothing, no change they will bring in this country. And that is all I have to say about that.